Hello everyone, my name is Armando Perez-Carreno, and today we're gonna be talking about a very fun topic, which is automation. It has to do with AI, but it's not what you think. So let me jump in here to make sure that we are receiving the stream on all the different platforms, and let me know where you're visiting us from. Let me just check over here because we're doing a LinkedIn event here as well. Oh, here it is. Perfect. It's running. Excellent. All right. So let me go back here. Excellent. So I know we are live down here and we are live over here. Let's go live on Instagram and we should be live on YouTube, Facebook, X. And I think that's all. Okay. Perfect. So let's talk about this. Why are we talking about this in the first place? So the first thing is you may have a shop, WooCommerce shop, you may have a Shopify, you may have a PrestaShop, whatever you have a store where you sell products. And maybe this has happened to you if you run a business like this, where you have a ton of different products. Maybe you have tens of products, maybe you have hundreds of products, maybe you have thousands of products, which is the case for this particular client that we're talking about right now. The problem is not having many products. It's getting descriptions for all of these products. So I'm going to talk about this in two terms. One of them is going to be the business owner side, and the other side is going to be whoever's helping the business owner set up that shop, whether it's a developer or an agency or anything like that. So if you're a small business owner, you start your shop, or maybe you had it for a while, and then maybe you're going to start drop shipping. You're going to get a bunch of inventory from someone else. Or you created a bunch of products because you had the machinery and everything, and now you have a better, bigger catalog. But how do you generate all these descriptions? You want them for SEO purposes, and you want them because people are shopping. They want to learn more about the product. And especially if you're reselling, this is where it really comes into play as well. You need engaging descriptions for people to shop at your store and not at someone else's store. But creating these descriptions takes time. So what we're going to be talking about today is how you can automate that process where you can generate a description for each one of these products at once automatically, but using actual data. That's the kicker. It's not just, hey, invent me something. It's actually using data. So this is where it's going to get very, very interesting. So let me know if you are here. Just drop a comment anywhere on these different platforms that we are, and I'll be happy to say hi as well. So here we are. There we are over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually share my screen to show you what the automation looks like in a second. First, I'm going to talk about which tools we're going to use, and then I'm going to show you exactly how this works. And this scenario that I have here, I'm not sharing yet, I'm going to share in a moment, it's a little more advanced. So I'll show you what we're doing, but you're going to just need maybe 3 steps in all of this process, and that will be enough. Okay, so let me bring this down over here. Perfect. So I will move this down. Okay, I'm just making sure the descriptions are going to make sense. Okay, and I'm just giving some examples here. Okay, I think this should work out. All right. Yeah, I think this will look good. It'll make sense in a second. Okay, so this is what we're doing. We have a list of products on our store. You may have Shopify, WooCommerce, whatever you have. You have a list of products. So the typical scenario is I want to get descriptions for my products. How do I do that? So either your developer or agency is asking for this information, or you as an agency need this information from your customer. You ask them and they're like, yeah, I'll get it. And then the project takes 6 months because they never got you the descriptions. So let's help both parties here. And I'm going to show you how we do it. And then if you need help with any of this, please reach out to me via our website, Perez-Carreno.com. I'll be happy to assist. We can help you build out these types of automations. And there's a ton of things we can automate within your business. So this one in particular is very fun because it actually saves you time. And also, it benefits your business because you're going to get more people looking through SEO. And then also, people who are looking will like the product pages more. So basically, what we're doing is we are going to step by step tell the tool to do what a real person would do. Okay, so again, we're not just generating bogus fake data. We are going to use data the way a regular person would do it. And this is something that I recommend you do just as a mindset thing. When you are creating automations, it's best to first think of what a regular person would do. If you had someone on your team doing this, we're gonna just think in that terms, right? Those terms. So for example, you ask someone, you have an employee and you want them to do this. So what would you do? You would say, okay, so I have this list of products. Jake, can you go and generate some descriptions for me? I need these descriptions for our website, right? And so Jake would say, yeah, of course. Where do I find this information? And so you would say, okay, Jake, well, you can go and research the name of the product, especially if you're reselling, for example. Research that name of the product and then look at websites that have information about this, like Wikipedia, of course, but then there's many other places around the internet where there's going to be information. Maybe even the manufacturer will have information on their website, right? And so you keep all this in mind. Write this down. So Jake goes, does his research, and then has to summarize what he found from multiple sources. And then he'll generate a description and he'll do one product. And maybe Jake will take half an hour or an hour to do a product, right? So just think about that, okay? So next step is, okay, now that you've figured out, hey, Jake is doing a good job, but he's taking a long time. So what can we do? Well, you could use tools like Perplexity, for example. If you've never used Perplexity, it's like ChatGPT, but it's more focused on it does searches first. So it did search before ChatGPT did search. And then it can use multiple different types of LLMs, agents behind the scenes. So you can just use it as a regular person. Right. So even if you don't do anything of the automation that we're talking about today, you can tell Jake to do this. Listen. So Jake will go into Perplexity. So how do you do that? Well, you go to Perplexity. .ai. And Perplexity has a free plan. They have a paid plan. But you can go in to Perplexity and ask it anything you want. Now, the way Perplexity works, let me actually see if I can share something here, making sure there's nothing weird shared here. Yeah, I think this will work. Okay, so we're gonna screen share. Let's try this out. And let me try sharing a Chrome tab called Perplexity. All right, so you should see my screen. So this is Perplexity. And it's very similar to ChatGPT. You can click here and start asking things. So maybe you're selling, I don't know, what are we selling today? Maybe you're selling the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 interface. It's an audio interface, whatever, right? Or some Sennheiser headphones, right? So tell me more about the Sennheiser, how do I type this? Headphones, open back design. I did not write that down properly. Never mind. It won't care. So I can do deep research. This is new. You could just do pro search if you have the paid plan. That's fine. Or you could do deep research. The pro search is great, or in the basic version, they have search as well. This is really what you want because what it does is, let me just do it here. It first finds sources, right? It searches online, and then it does the search. You see Sennheiser, headphone, open back, design features, open back, blah, blah, blah. It does the search for you, and then it gives you the answers, right? So it's giving us good information here. What's good about it? Well, they have a wide sound stage, right? Because they're open back. You can hear the rest of the room. It doesn't feel enclosed. You have the clarity and detail. You have the balanced sound. You have comfort, focused design, proprietary technologies, durability, professional use, etc. All this is very good. This could help Jake, right? And so, great. We're going to get to the automation part. Don't worry. But this is for anyone. Like, you can start today. You can use this. And so if you want to take it further, what you can do is instead of just asking them, tell me more, right? You can ask them something specific. So right here, it mentioned the HD 559, right? So let's actually do something more specific, and let's do, or 800. That's what, maybe you're selling some of the high end ones. So you're gonna say something like, you are an expert copy writer, specializing in high-end audio equipment. Sure, okay. Give me a product description that is engaging for a product that I will provide below. And then I can say something like, use only, first research the main aspects of the item, use only reputable sources, like, and then you can give it like audio magazines, high and audio, I'm just making this stuff up, etc. Right? And so I'm giving it instructions on what to do. And this will make sense in a second. And then you only use this. I like H3 headings. For headings, give me the output in HTML format. And then what else do I need? Or maybe in HTML or markup, whichever. Well, you'll see in a second. So we're doing this. And then this is the product. And actually, you can go further and you can say, for the summary, use a storytelling tone to captivate the reader. Okay. And tell a story. You can make this stuff up, okay? Product name. And then I could do Sennheiser 808D. All right. So let me just grab this. Sennheiser HD 800S. And you can give it additional parameters, right? So what I like to do is, if you have information, because you probably do in your store, let's say you have, you're drop shipping, you're reselling, whatever you're doing, you have in whatever your provider gave you, you're probably going to have some specs on it. So maybe just the product name, but then you're going to have some additional things like color. You're going to have weight. You're going to have dimensions. You're going to have included accessories, right? So depending on the product, this makes more sense. If it's a very specific tool like this one, like the headphones, you just need the name because it'll figure everything out. But if it's something else like a plate or a coffee mug or anything else that requires, like, I don't know, if it's jewelry, if it requires, you can say it's gold, it has this purity, it has this gold weight, it has this amount of carats, right? So you can include all that information when you give it this, and so it will be able to better generate the information, right? So for here, we're just doing this one in particular, okay? And so then you can give it an example if you want. You can go ahead and say, you're going to do a summary, and then you're going to do a detail section, you're going to do a section where you explain why open back is better than closed back, whatever you want. You can expand on this. I'm not going to take your time on this, but here you go. Enter. So what it's doing here is it's going to do the research first, basic research. Don't get into deep sea stuff. We'll get there. So this is just basic, just using the basic Perplexity original search. It goes out, searches, and then it's going to summarize. And here, as you can see, the answer is already giving me something really good. It's giving me the HTML content that I need. Then I can then just grab and paste into my product editor on WooCommerce or Shopify or whatever. And now I have a very nice description for my product. So if you look at this here, Sennheiser HD, a symphony for your ears. Imagine stepping into a world where every note, every whisper, every subtle nuance of your favorite music comes alive with breathtaking clarity. This is the realm of the HD 800S, a masterpiece of audio engineering that stands as a testament to German precision and audiophile passion. How's that? Right? So it'll do this for you, right? basically for free. If you just have the free version, you probably have a certain number of tokens, but you could just pay for regular Perplexity. It's not expensive, especially if you're running a business, right? Cool. This is okay. Now, what if we want to take it further because it's 2025 and DeepSeek exists, right? So we do this, but now instead of using Pro, I'm going to do deep research, right? Or I could do reasoning with R1, right? I don't think we need deep research. Let's do reasoning with R1. So reasoning with R1 is similar to DeepSeek. Basically, it's DeepSeek based on the US hosted on their servers. So let's do that. So now it's going to reason and actually tell you what it's doing. I'm researching the main aspects of the HD 800S from reputable audio sources. And it's doing that, and then it's going to think, okay, I need to create an engaging description. Now, first, from our things, source one, the HD 800 is noted for blah, blah, blah. Then he continues, or it continues, sorry. It'll continue doing all that. It'll take a little bit. And so it'll do this whole process to generate this amazing description for you. So let's let it generate. Let me just see if you can see any comments or anything around here. Okay, over here. No, let me go to LinkedIn. Make sure. I don't know if the comments actually come through. I'm using EVMux, so it does it all around the place. But let me see. I have no idea if this comes in. Okay, perfect. All right, there we are. Okay, so now this is the description. And so let me see if I could show you something while it finishes. So this is what it gave us. It's a longer description, and it can actually provide you with something like this. There it is. Share this tab instead. Okay. So here we are. The Sennheiser HD, where engineering meets emotion. And you see the H3 headings? So it's telling us, in a world where compressed streams and fleeting trends, the H800 stands as a cathedral of sound and an open bank sanctuary where every note becomes an event, right? So it does the same thing. It has the different headings, but it might have done more expansive research. Now, in my opinion, the first one was perfectly fine and perfectly acceptable. So for something like this, you probably don't need to do the R1. You can just do the basic one unless you needed to do very extensive research, in which case maybe the second one or the research one, the new one, makes sense as well. Also, think about token usage. So here it doesn't really matter, but once we get into the automation piece, you're going to see that tokens matter, right? So you're going to start getting charged for the amount of tokens that you use in those requests and transforming the data, etc. So you might want to use a cheaper model for certain things if it gives you enough quality for what you need. I hope that makes sense. So let's go back and continue with the actual meat of the thing, which is the automation. So remember, for anyone who just joined, the idea here is that we have a lot of products, Shopify, WooCommerce, whatever. We want to create a description for all of them for SEO and to just make it more engaging for the person who's browsing. So we said at the beginning that we're going to tell someone in our team to do it, right? So maybe Jake or Sarah is going to do this process. So at first they would do the research on their own, figure out, summarize and everything, and it would take like an hour or whatever. Or then you can give them a tool like Perplexity and have them tell it something like this description here, and then Perplexity will give them the output, and then they can just put it in your product. And that's a lot faster. Now, what if we want to do it even faster? We want to automate it such that if we have 100 products, or like in the case for a client, we have 2,000 products, we can do it in one go. And it's actually not expensive to do either. So let's go into that part, which is the fun part. How do we do it? Well, let me go back here to share this. So this is what we're looking at right now for everyone who's joining. We're using Perplexity manually directly in the Perplexity site, and we're telling it, you are an audio expert, copywriter, blah, 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 generate a description for me. We tell it which product, and it will generate the content for us. Now, let's go into Make. And for anyone who doesn't know what make.com is, you're in for a treat. Let me show you. So make.com is a really nice tool that allows you to, let me share my tab here, create these flows. As you can see here, a flow is a node-based interface where you can put things and tell it, I want to do this, then this, then this, and use this data. If you ever use Zapier, it is like Zapier, a little more advanced in certain ways. You can connect anything. So in this case, this is where it gets fun. You can grab WooCommerce and tell it to search for a product, and then you can use the data from that search to pass it through this whole flow. And I'll explain this whole flow and why I have so many steps. You might only actually need WooCommerce and then go directly to Perplexity. You don't necessarily need the tools section here. This is just something very specific for this use case, but I'll explain all of it so you see how you can do it. And you can do it on the free Make plan if you want. The only thing you do need is for this to work, you have to go to Perplexity Sonar, which is their API offering. Just go to Perplexity or just search for Perplexity. Let me see. Perplexity Sonar. Let me see if I can send you directly to it. Okay, so this is where you'll want to go. And let me share this tab. All right. So you create an account here. You add your billing information, top it off with $10. That's all you need for now. Okay. We did 100, probably 150 product descriptions with $4 using Perplexity. Okay. It's not expensive at all. So you create an account on Perplexity, then we can continue with whatever we're doing here. So you can create an account on Perplexity Sonar. Then we're going to go back to Make, and you can create an account on make.com. Like I said, they have a free tier, which gives you like 1,000 runs or 1,000 different automations. So you can really get your feet wet in this without actually choosing a plan. And then once you've already seen it actually works for your business, then of course get a paid plan and you could do a ton more things because you have more actions that you can use. And again, we can help you with all this if you want. Just go to Perez-Carreno.com, reach out to us. Or just reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever you want. Just search for Perez-Carreno, you'll probably find me. So how does this work? Well, the first step here is called WooCommerce. And to add something here to the board, you could just do add a module and then just click it and you can search for anything, right? You could do Google Sheets, Airtable, webhooks, whatever. So even if there's no integration for your particular shop, right? So here, maybe I do Shopify. Oh, Shopify. There it is, Shopify. So if you have run a Shopify store, new event, get a page, watch pages, etc. You could do that. I don't know if there are other. PrestaShop is there, right? You could do Magento. There's Magento. You could do BigCommerce. There's BigCommerce, right? And I didn't know. I'm just doing this right now. You could do WooCommerce, of course, which we've used. And then there's a bunch of other like plugin stuff that works too. So in this case, WooCommerce, the way that I did it is you create a search for a product. You see you have all these because you could do automations for everything. But here we're going to do search for a product. And then you have to connect it to the flow, right? So that's when you start. In this case, I already have the flow, so I'm not starting from scratch. Let me show you what it looks like. So if you didn't have anything, you start there and then you start connecting them together like that, right? So like this, for example. And then here I can start the process. How does this work, this connection? Well, when you first do it, it's going to tell you need to connect it to a WooCommerce store or a Shopify store or whatever store you want to have. And it's very easy. It'll just ask you, do the authorization if that store has OAuth, or it will ask you for an API key. So if you go to WooCommerce to settings, you can create an API key from there, paste it in here, and then it'll be connected. That means that now make.com can query your site via the API and get this information. They can get the products, they can get the orders for the sales, they can get the customers, whatever. And then you could do all sorts of crazy things with, like you could build a whole CRM using this in Airtable. We'll talk about that in another story, another time. So this is what you want to do. And so this is nice because if you have a product, like maybe you have those headphones, right? You could do HD 800S, right? And it'll search by name, right? If you want to do a filter. Or you can just keep it like that, save it, and then it will query all the products until whatever limit you give it. So you can give it 100 or 200 or whatever. It'll actually go through, query all of them, and get that data back. And then you can use that data going forward in all of these different steps. So here you might do something, this I do suggest, maybe use a tag. So if you have a tag on your system, maybe like headphones, you just want to, or category, you just want headphones, just click category and select headphones from the category, and it'll filter and it'll only do that query. So you don't have to do all products at once. Or what I did when I was getting started, I created a tag on the site called generate, and then you can go and mark those products that you want to test with as tagged as generate. And that way you're just doing those 4 or 5 products during your tests. Do it with one at the beginning and play around, and then you'll have fun with it. So we do that. Once we have this step, basically search products, nothing, we don't really need any of these except if you want to limit it, like I said before. You click save, and then you connect it to perplexity.ai. And I'm going to show you why I have it like this. Let me delete this module. The reason I have these steps here is that for this particular client, we needed to manipulate the data. So this is a little more advanced, but set variables is a feature that allows you to create variables that you're going to use throughout to make it easier to give other steps additional information. So for example, maybe you have custom fields, you have custom meta fields in the product. This is for your technical crowd. If you want to grab those, then you could use something like set variable to grab an array from the metadata and then extract that into multiple little fields, and then those fields can be used down the line. So I'm actually going to get rid of these so I don't confuse anyone. Yes, that's fine. And I'm going to leave it like this because we don't need to do that for what you need, right? We actually don't need this step either, but I'm going to show you why we have it anyway. This here is a little filter that I did, exclude products with a generated tag. So what I'm doing is that at the end, when I'm pushing back to WooCommerce, we're going to do that, I can then say also apply this tag. And so if I do that, then when it finishes the process, it will mark it as generated. So if it ever goes back into this flow, that product, it won't redo it and waste tokens, if that makes sense. So that's something you could do. You don't need it, but that's something I like to do. So let's go in and see what we're actually doing. So if we just get these products, we filter them if we want. You don't need to do this. And then you go into the perplexity step. This is where it gets fun. So if I click on perplexity, what's going to happen here is that I can choose, well, connect it to your Sonar first. And then once you do that, you can select the model. So you could do Sonar, Sonar Pro, Sonar Reasoning, etc. We're just going to do Sonar Pro because it includes search. That's all we need, really. We need search capability. And then the Sonar LLM is very good. And then in messages, under messages, right down here, you can add different messages. In this case, I'm just going to do one message, and I'm going to do role user. If you know about LLMs and prompting, you can go crazy with this because you could also add a system message if you want and other things. But in this case, I'm just doing it very basic. We're just recreating what we were doing with Perplexity manually, like we were telling Jake or Sarah to do. We're just going to do it in here. So in this one, this was more like in the jewelry space. So you were an expert copywriting, SEO copywriter specializing in, and I could say something like jewelry, right? Heel jewelry, right? And so if I do that, then it should sort of give it the context. But we had already done that over here. Let me just copy it over, right? So this was what we had before. You're an expert copywriting specializing in high-end outdoor equipment. Give me a product description that's engaging for the product that I will provide below. First, research the main aspects of the item, blah, blah, blah. So whatever I told it before, and then I give it the product name. But here's where you really want to do this. You're going to go in and say name. So what's this doing? It's actually grabbing whatever you're telling it, and then you can tell it additional context for the product. So that's what makes it dynamic. Now, you left this to be generic, and the going to do that for that product that we're talking about right now, which is the headphones, right? If you have more products, it'll just go through those. So this is great because you can do it. If you do it for category, you can do one flow per different category. So if you want to keep it simple, and then have a different instruction set for that particular category. And then you can give it the product name, but then you can give it more things, right? So if it was something, I don't know, it had different categories, it had different dimensions, and then the dimensions change what you should tell about the product, then you can include the dimensions, the length, the width, and the height, right? You could even say something like width, and sorry, I just changed my keyboard, and the height, or there we go, and length, width, height, length. Perfect. And then I could also do weight if I wanted to, because maybe you wanted to also describe that. So you could say something like this, but then below it, you could say something like one structure, one include a story for the summary, and number two, include all the tech specs shown above. And then three, include a call to action, something like that, right? You can do that. You can go crazy. You can repeat these and have it use it. But this helps because then it can have the text that it created for us, but then also have a list of features within that text down below, and it works really nicely. You can include categories, tags. We have the images here as well. So if we wanted to put some of the images here, we could, because we have an array. You would use an iterator. That's another story. We'll talk about it in another video, but you could do stuff like that. And so this is great because you're going to get all this information from WooCommerce, and then you could generate all this content directly through the platform, right? So what happens after this step? You could just get that, but the problem is that a lot of times when you're getting it through the API, it's not ready to be just pasted into the site, because it might be in Markdown, right? Even though you tell it to do it in a certain way, it might give it to you in Markdown. And so this step is nice because you can tell it, grab the message content and turn it into HTML. And then from there, we can go in here to WooCommerce and we can say, once it loads, for the product ID, which we have, of course, set the description to be the output of the Markdown element. And that's it. That's all you need to do. And then you can run it. And so what will happen is it will fetch, let's say for one product, it will fetch the product, grab the information, go to Perplexity, tell Perplexity, hey, generate this description for me using these product details, then grab that Markdown, make it HTML, and now put that into my store, directly into that product. So you don't even have to store that data and then have someone go in. You can do this automatically. It'll just does it. And I'll give you an example. So this or typical scenario might take John, Sarah, Mark, whoever, half an hour to generate one. This thing ran, I don't know, I think it took 20 minutes to do 100 products. And it could be faster, depending on the tier you're on, it'll be faster. So it's, you're going to save a lot of time and thus a lot of money. So this is great. Try it out. If you haven't used Make, automations are great here. If you don't know how to do this or you don't want to get into the technical stuff, reach out to me. I'll be happy to help, either guiding you through the process or we can create the full automations for you as well. Just reach out to Twitter, Instagram, X, wherever, or Perez-Carreno.com. You can do that as well. And if you want to learn about this stuff, you can also go to our school community, school.com/learn. You can learn about WordPress and this kind of stuff too. So going back, you want to do this so that you can save time on things that are repeatable, things that you are constantly doing again and again and again that take a lot of time, like generating product descriptions. But it doesn't stop there. If you want to do it for your blog, it works too. So what is the difference between saying, yeah, I'm just going to generate AI content? Well, yeah, but don't just generate AI content because it doesn't read well, and it's probably not good for, especially for blog posts. You start telling, right? But for something like this, it works really nicely because you're doing the research first, and then you can give it instructions to use a tone that matches your brand's tone instead of having it be a generic AI kind of thing. And again, if you're using products where there are details for them, if you're reselling, for example, you're drop shipping, so a lot of times you don't get a big description for those. You can grab all the specs, and based on that, it will generate these descriptions for you. Or you could give it a template, and you can have it use that to start the generation of the content. So what do you think? Do you think it helps? Let's see over here. Oh, we've got some people over here. Hello on Instagram, and then I don't know if we are. How does a LinkedIn one work? Let's see. Just checking to see if we have any questions here. Just to be sure. I think we're good. All right. So that's how it works. You can do this, let's say, if you have posts, blog posts, you already created those blog posts. Maybe someone on your marketing team did them, but you don't have the SEO keywords, right? Or the SEO description, etc. You could create an automation similar to this where you ask it to grab all your posts and then generate that metadata based on SEO research, and then put that data back up as metadata on your site. So you can do things like that as well. And I'm going to touch on one last thing that we do in this flow that I didn't mention, which is the Google Sheets thing. You're probably wondering why I didn't mention it, so sorry about that. What I'm doing here is actually, let me just remove any data that might sure. Let's see. I just want to see if I have an untitled sheet here that I can use for the example. All right. Bear with me. Sure. This will work. Okay, and then this one, I'll do the same thing. You'll see what I'm doing in a second. Don't worry. Maybe this one. Sure. All right. There we are again. So I told you the only steps that you really need are WooCommerce, Perplexity, Markdown, and then WooCommerce again. Maybe you don't need the Markdown one depending on what output you're getting and what your site expects. So if you're getting HTML directly, you could just put it on. Or if you need Markdown and it's giving you Markdown, that's fine. Okay, so those are the main 4 or 3 steps. But why did I do a drop down here to just Google Sheets and then to Google Sheets again? This is just for personal reference, and you can use our table for this. Might be even better, but I just had the Google Sheets there, and it's just very easy to do. So what I'm doing is every time this runs, I'm going into a Google Sheet that I have. Just grab this one, and I'm telling it use sheet 1 for this spreadsheet, and then I'm telling it I do have the headers in the first row, so it can tell me what those are here, because if you don't, you're just going to have H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, etc. So having this here and having the row names, the column names is very important so that you can see them here. It's just easier. So here I can then say, in this case, ignore the fields, but I was saying product ID, product name, status, and then I was saying total tokens used, what the markdown output was, and the time. That's what I'm doing. So this is updating a spreadsheet automatically. It's adding one new row for the spreadsheet for each product that goes through the process. So then I can easily go to that spreadsheet or even share it with someone else on the team, and they can see what's going on. And it's going one by one, and it's adding the product ID with the description and everything it generated and the status. So then you can see what it's doing, what it's done. You can go in and modify things if you want, or you just have a historical log or reference of what the tool did without having to rely on make specifically. And then what I'm doing afterwards is over here, I'm just going into that same sheet and I'm linking to the row number. Just grab the row number field It's an automatic field that you can grab if you use the spreadsheet in another step. And then down here, I just changed the status to published. And that's it. So basically it goes through and it marks them all as generated. And then when it actually publishes them, it marks it as published. And the reason I do that is if it fails when it's publishing to WooCommerce, I have a reference in my spreadsheet letting me know which ones failed, but I already have the generated information for Perplexity, which I already spent a few cents on. So I don't need to run it again. I could just go in and manually paste them if I wanted to. So just a tip there if you want to do something like that. So there's the process. So like I said, how you can save 100 hours instantly? Well, it could be 50 hours, 2 hours, or 1,000 hours, depending on how many products you have and what your staff's speed is like. But this is a great way to do it. Very simple, as you saw. And if you need any assistance doing anything like this, feel free to reach out to me at Perez-Carreno on X. That would be probably the fastest way, or on LinkedIn as well. Now, let me close this over here. Here we are. Perfect. So we're having another live stream in a few days where we're going to be talking about a few more interesting things. So feel free to subscribe. If you like this content, you can subscribe on YouTube. You can subscribe on... where can you subscribe? Does anyone know? Can you subscribe on... just follow me on LinkedIn. That'll probably tell you whenever I go live there as well. I just learned today... thanks, Tim, by the way, that you can schedule LinkedIn events. I did not know that, so that's really cool. I was doing live streams that went to LinkedIn, but I had no idea you could schedule an event, and so people can register for the event. They get reminded about it, and then they can watch it there. It stays as an event instead of just as a regular post. So I think that's something new for me, at least. So that's cool. All right, thanks everyone. I hope you liked the broadcast, and it's going to be stored on all the different platforms. Instagram doesn't store it, but the rest of them, you'll be able to watch the video there. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and feel free to reach out. Thanks.